Hi, everyone. I have a question for you. Have you ever wondered when you look up above and you see those stars, how they affect your life? Does astrology play a role in your future, in your past? Can you use astrology to really navigate who it is you are and possibly predict the future? Well, we have an exciting episode for you today. Welcome back to another episode of Design Your Life. I'm here with Jacinda MacCallum. And Jacinda, please maybe share a little bit about yourself and what we're going to talk about today.
Well, first and foremost, my sun sign is Aries, my moon sign is Capricorn, and my rising is Sagittarius. And we're just gonna get into it, and Jim's just gonna let me ramble on about some stuff, and hopefully you guys, yeah, I like that. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Jim and his chart, and kind of see how he feels about that, and yeah, and then we'll just get into it.
Yeah, and I'm really curious of how it connects with designing your life, designing that, or living that authentic life that we're meant to live, that's true to us. And Jacinda, you're from, or you run a, I don't know if you want to call it a course or what's
Yeah,
the name of?
so I have it's in the stars with Jacinda Marr, and I do people's natal charts. I also do solar returns, which is when the sun comes back to its original place when you were first born. I teach astrology classes, but I teach it in a way that for new people that can come in and understand the language. I'm not someone that's using all these big words. I just want people to enjoy astrology as much as I do, because I'm super obsessed with astrology. I just love astrology so much, and I just think everybody should know a little bit about that so they can help themselves and, yeah,
Wonderful.
move through their shadow work and all that stuff. Yeah.
Now, Jacinda, most people, when they think astrology, they're thinking newspaper horoscope, zodiac signs, predictions. What are the biggest misconceptions out there about astrology?
One of the big misconceptions is people use astrology as an excuse to be an asshole. They're like, "Oh, well, take me for an example. As an Aries, people expect Aries to be aggressive and to be angry and to be an asshole." And I mean, basically, we kind of are, but astrology is balancing out those positives and negatives about yourself, right? So, understanding that you can be an asshole and then learning how to tone that down. Like, so that's not my excuse. My excuse is, oh, maybe I was an asshole to that person. So how can I not be an asshole the next time? Do I need to tone my voice down? Do I need to maybe change the way that I approach things and stuff? So for me, astrology is just helping me to be a better person, to take the things that I am, who I am, and just learning how I can navigate the world in a better way, because I think that we all need to recognize that we can all be assholes, and just learning how to not be assholes. I guess, I don't know.
Now, you mentioned earlier about birth charts.
Yes.
What does a birth chart actually represent?
So when you're born, that moment, that time of birth that you give me, that tells me everything. Like, that shows everything that we need to know about you. So a lot of people think that it's just your sun sign, it's your moon sign, it's whatever, but it's your rising sign. It's that moment of birth that determines your rising sign, that determines all of the themes that you're going to have. And the themes are those houses. So, for example, just quickly, this is Jim's natal chart. So
Well, you
each,
all know me now
yeah,
very well.
that's right. Each pie piece is a theme that Jim is experiencing in his life right now. So it, it's not just like, oh, your rising sign, his rising sign is Virgo. It's not just about that, but that determines the rest of his chart. So we're going to be able to find out people that he might have different relationships with, his career path, his shadow side, if he's an introvert or an extrovert. Just everything, like, you can even, like, darkness, like, bad things that have happened to us. Are our parents together, or did they separate? Or, like, how do we navigate the world? Like, do we have a good relationship with certain things? Do we have a bad relationship? Like, some people have worse luck in life than other
Mhm.
people, like, and you're always wondering, oh, well, why do they? It's all in your chart, because I believe that we decide when we come here. So these are the lessons in in life that we want to learn.
So you and I spoke before the podcast, and we talked briefly about how we're maybe different people, say in our private
Yeah.
homes than we
Yeah.
are, say in public. And you just kind of related back a little earlier about how you kind of use astrology to understand who you are, but then how does that relate to how you act in public and
Yeah.
understanding a little bit about that, right? So it's kind of interesting because we do often act differently in our private life. So I'm curious as to why you think we kind of make that change from, going in public. Why do we have to
Yeah.
where it
So
has to
what
be
I was
different?
saying to Jim earlier, so with the big three, so when you hear people say the big three, that's your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. So not necessarily that they're the most important, but they're pretty significant in the way that we're going to understand people, right? So Jim is a Sagittarius sun with a Taurus moon and a Virgo rising. So your sun sign is like your core values, your lessons, like that stuff about yourself. Um, so Jim is a Sagittarius. So, but people are going to see Jim as a Sagittarius. So when Jim walks out into the world, he puts a mask on his face and then he becomes a Virgo. So his rising, his ascendant is Virgo. So that's a role that he's playing. It's almost like a superhero cape in a way that you're walking out because this is kind of what's protecting you as you walk out. So we don't see Jim as a Sagittarius. Sagittariuses are like fiery and just like full of like raw kind of people, right? And they're just ready to go and they're all of this stuff. And it's not that Jim's not like that, but he's probably not going to feel comfortable enough to share that in public. So what we see is we see someone that's put together, someone that's analytical, someone that's critical. And I don't say critical in a negative way because society has put these certain beliefs or ways that we should think about certain ways, like even masculine to feminine, like just energies or whatever. People think of that as a negative and a positive, but it's
Mm.
not. It's really not. So, and then Jim has a Taurus moon. So that's the way that he's processing his life. So as a Taurus, Tauruses are very fixed. They're very earth, and Virgo is earth too. So he has that groundedness about him. So he's probably very fixed in his opinions and how he feels. So he he's very like stable in that. So that those work together. His rising Virgo and his earth, his Taurus moon, they work together. So that might be challenging for him when it comes to his Sagittarius to allow that Sagittarius to come out. So when he's home, Sag probably comes out a lot easier than when he's in public.
Yeah, I'd be curious for anybody out there that knows me to leave comments because that, just to put it into context, we haven't known each other long. We've had few passings,
Yeah.
so Jacinda doesn't know me
No.
a whole lot. But when I gave you my birthday, obviously that comes up very true to me in
Mhm.
terms of what you're saying. So I find it very interesting.
Mm.
I'm curious, what drew you personally to studying astrology? What got you in
Ooh.
there?
So when I was 9 years old, my mom and her friends were sitting around the table and they're looking at their horoscopes. And I had just said about the horoscopes, but I mean, every interest has to start somewhere, right? So I was like, "Hey, mom, what am I?" Like. So she's like, "Oh," she looked up my birthday and she's like, "Oh, you're an Aries," and I was like, "Woo, what does that mean?" So then, from that point on, it was just like everything Aries I needed to know, and then it just escalated from there to elements, to modalities, to the seasons, just everything, and then other people, because that's once you hit, because when you're 9, you're kind of more about yourself, and then you experience more as you get older, and yeah, it just went from there, and I don't know, I just loved it so much, and I felt so connected to it, and when I look at my own birth chart, I can see reasons why I was connected to it and why I would feel that this would be my life path.
There you go. Can astrology be used as a tool for self discovery rather than say prediction, or actually can it even be used for prediction?
So self-discovery 100%, because that's what it's about, is
Mm.
learning, those dark sides to ourselves, because society makes us think that we shouldn't have these weirdnesses, but then our chart says that we have these weirdnesses, you know what I mean? Like, so then when society's like, "Oh, well, you can't feel that way and you can't think that way," then well, why? Why can't we? We're supposed to be
Right.
connected as individuals, right? Like we
Mhm.
all share the same heartbeat, and like we all share that same blood. Like we're together. So why can't we share those darknesses that we clearly have? So then when
Right.
you're discovering yourself and you're learning, oh, well, yeah, okay, no, I do recognize that thing in myself, and then you're bringing that light out, then that's how we have that self-discovery, and we learn those things about ourselves, because if we're not, then we're just walking around, and then what is even the point? What's even the point at that? Like, if you're not
Yeah.
learning that stuff about yourself and sharing with other people, and then they can bring their stuff into the light, and then we all realize that we're not actually weird, and it was just society making us feel that way. And as far as predictions go, I don't know if it's necessarily a prediction as just understanding the opportunities that you can use through the different energies that are in the world. Like if you're if and I mean, honestly, it just really depends on, in my opinion, your mindset too, right?
Right.
Like, are you a someone who thinks more negatively, or are you someone that thinks more positively? And honestly, that's really gonna set a lot of things, because a lot of it is still free will,
So,
right?
okay, that's a great question. So, is that negative or positive thinking? Is that determined within the chart, or is that a conscious decision to go against?
So some people would think that maybe that's free will. I kind of think it's both. I think that before you know something about yourself, you're going to live that way. But once you start understanding and seeing and exploring what your chart has, and you're like, oh, that thought process is actually in my chart, and that's something I need to change.
Okay.
That's when it becomes more free will, right? Like, oh, now I'm going to decide to just continue to think this way and not change that thought process,
Right.
right? Yeah. Does that make
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I mean, so you do classes,
Yeah.
the classes or courses? What's the proper?
I just I just kinda think of them as just classes,
Okay.
because it's not like, it's not something that, "Oh, we're learning this one week and we're learning that the next week." For me, I used to, draw everything out, and it would just be, like, completely scripted, sorry, but I don't work with script. I mean, you've been to a class way a couple years ago when I was working off a script, and I'm very robotic, and I'm not that person. I'm very, like, someone that just needs to be able to
Mm.
talk and flip my hands around and do whatever so I can express what's happening. But with the classes, they've become more intuitive because I'm working on my intuition right now. So that's something I'm trying to bring out
Right.
more for myself. Um, so yeah, like, so it's more of a class, not necessarily a
And
course. Yeah.
have you seen people gain more clarity
Oh
about
yeah,
who
that's
they
amazing.
are?
I
And
love that. Like, I have people that some people don't necessarily get it right away, and that's okay, because I just love talking about it so much that I'll explain it to you a million times until you do get it, because there's always a way for you to get it, right? Like, there's always a way that we connect that for you. But yeah, there's times that I've been doing charts with people, and you can just see it, and it just clicks, and their heart just wells up. And I don't think some people get emotional. Some people don't necessarily show their emotions through tears or whatever. That's another misconception. But anyway,
now, I mean, one thing that I've talked about is self acceptance before self improvement. Talked about it many times. How does astrology fit that idea?
I love that you say that, because that's what it's all about. Is you can't improve something if you don't know what you're improving on, like, so you
Right.
have to accept those things about yourself in order to improve on it, and even to even decide if you need to improve on it, because not everything needs improvement, like maybe it needs enhancement. I guess that's just
Right.
another word of improvement, but like, cuz some things are, maybe you're more negative and you need to improve on that, but maybe you're already a positive person and you need to just enhance those skills that you're working on. I
Right.
don't know if
Right.
that
Sure.
makes sense.
Um, this is an interesting question because I've always tried to find my purpose in life.
Mhm.
I spent many years trying to find my purpose in life, only to in the latter years become more questioning about, do I really even need a purpose? Is there a purpose for me? How, like, can astrology help somebody find their purpose?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you're asking that question because so there's 2 points in our chart. One's called Chiron and one's called North and South Node.
Okay.
So the Chiron, I'm not gonna be able to give you a big elaborate story, but the basics of the story is there was a warrior, his name was Chiron, and he was a magnificent warrior, but he got wounded. And he had to transfer his soul to another body that wasn't wounded, and that soul wanted to leave anyway, so they just did this transfer. So then he went from the greatest warrior to the greatest healer. So that happens when we're 50-ish. Now,
Okay.
interesting, you're in another year, so you're going to go through your Chiron returns. So this is like in the beginning of our lives, we're constantly fighting and battling and not necessarily with the world, but with ourselves, trying to find where we fit in the world and why we hurt so much because we all have pain and we all have, limiting beliefs and we all have things that hold us back, which would be the wounds in our life. So once we start understanding that and start ripping things open and just like diving in and just saying, okay, enough is enough, that's when we become that greater healer. So that's for you. You were like,
Yeah.
well, maybe I don't even need to have a purpose. Like that
Yeah.
was just you starting to understand that the wounds, they just need to you just need to understand them. So then that's where your north node comes in. So your south node is like your past life. It's the skills that you brought in, but you need to it's not that you necessarily brought them in. They just
Mhm.
came with you because that's like if with your past lives, you did certain things, right? So your past life, your south node is Aries. So your north node, which is the skill set that you need to be working on now, and it's interesting that you're doing this, is because you're Libra. Libra is about living a life of balance and peace and harmony without people pleasing, without doing it for other people. So if you living that path, which I feel like you're kind of doing
Right.
now, you're learning how to balance this life and you're giving people this platform, which in your 10th house, I'm just sorry. So your 10th house, you have Jupiter in Cancer. So the 10th house is the house of public, the
Okay.
house of career, and a Cancer is very loving and nurturing and protective. So what you're doing is you're giving people a platform to expand because Jupiter is the planet of expansion, the planet of growth. You're allowing yourself and others to grow through a loving, nurturing platform, a nurturing way in public. So this is you. Your Jupiter in Cancer is allowing that growth through love and nurturing.
Okay.
Yeah. So
It's
that's,
interesting.
yeah. And okay. I'm sorry.
No, don't
Okay.
keep going.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine. That's what we want. And it is very interesting because obviously I know very little about astrology. It's not something I've followed or anything like that, obviously. But then same with meeting this community, Oh My Soul and Journey, which we're at, by the way. We're here live at Oh My Soul and Journey. I should throw a nod out to them, obviously. Um, and I find that I have gone through just such a different transition,
Mm,
and now I have myself questioning, because always kind of liken it to going through, a major relationship separation and just that opening the doors for everything else. But I wonder if I would have got there regardless based off,
mm,
going through, well, as you said,
mhm.
the houses and stuff
So
like that. But it's very interesting because I also, question a lot of times, does our decisions change with, I call it maturity. Now
mhm,
you made the mention to kind of when we get to age 50.
mhm.
How did you position that again? How did
So with your Chiron around the age 50, like
mm,
it could be 49. It just depends on where it's hitting, right? But it's the age 50 is when we start going through this point in our lives where we're like healing and growing beyond those limiting beliefs and
right, right,
we're
right.
letting go of those inter relationship things or the
So, and the reason I asked that, because I often wondered, could I have started doing what I'm doing earlier in life?
mm,
Would I? Because again, I likened
mhm,
it to, was I mature
mhm.
enough to make those
Do you
mature
know what?
decisions, or do we just get to this point in our lives where we come out of a cocoon and
Mhm.
turn into a butterfly? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's
I feel like just listening to you, just talking just in that moment, your Taurus moon probably wouldn't have allowed
right,
for that because as we do mature and we get older, you're learning that that Taurus moon being so rigid and fixed in the way that it is, it's hard to move past certain
right,
things that as you get older, you're just like, no, I need to move past these
yeah,
things. So as a younger person, you may not have allowed yourself to move past certain beliefs that you hold, right?
right,
Taurus, Taurus, very intelligent people, very secure, grounded individuals. But the thing that holds them back are those beliefs that they hold so fixed. And it doesn't matter
right,
how much information, how much facts and figures you bring. If they're there, if they think this, that's it. They're
yeah,
having a hard time moving past that. And that's the way that you process the world. So you may not have allowed yourself to move
right,
past that, right? So you're because Tauruses experience a lot of anxiety,
yep,
and that just may have really hindered you. And actually, with your Virgo rising, it may have um, enhanced that because they're both Earth. So there's something called a trine and something called a square. I mean, there's other transits and stuff like that that um, that are out there, but these ones I talk a lot about because the trine is the elemental relationship. So that relationship between your Virgo and your Taurus,
mm,
they work really well together, but they can also work against each other in the sense that you get comfortable and you get
right,
stuck. So because your Virgo is earth, it may not have allowed you to go beyond what you want because it's analyzing and it's trying
right,
to
right, right,
figure it all out. So if you're already experiencing anxiety inside yourself, then that Virgo is also going to because Virgo is connected with Mercury and
yeah.
Mercury is how we communicate and it's um Virgo is like with your nervous system and stuff. So
Now, relating back to what we said earlier about astrology helping you to understand who you are, maybe deep down, shred the ego. Can maybe someone who's in that position, maybe that has the same similar signs of myself, can knowing astrology earlier in life help propel or get to that change quicker?
see, I don't know if I really know the answer to that because I mean, maybe I've been studying it for a long time and I've been trying to use it to help myself, but
Hmm.
then there's there's so much to learn with astrology, right? Like there's like at least what seven different avenues, at least seven different avenues that you can take. And right
Right.
now I'm studying two of those avenues and there's just so much more. So if you're like if I had a baby and I was able to raise that baby exactly through astrology, then maybe.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Once you have limiting beliefs, it's hard to correct those things,
Right.
right? Because it's through our um, generations too, right?
Sure.
Like we don't just have beliefs that we believe. We have things that have been
Yeah.
instilled in us, not from childhood, but from our parents' child, from our grandparents' childhood. So like those beliefs can be so hard to get around, to
Right.
maneuver around, right? So I honestly don't know how to
Interesting.
answer that question.
No,
Sorry.
that's okay. It's a great thing about this podcast. There's no right or wrong answers. It's
Well, I'm
yeah.
never gonna say anything I
So
don't feel right about saying anyway.
many people feel pressured, obviously, to constantly grow,
Mhm.
achieve. I mean, you're always trying to live up to somebody's expectation, even if they're your own. Does astrology teach us anything about rest, reflection, timing?
You know, not everybody's the same, so not everybody's gonna rest the same, and not
Mhm.
everybody's gonna feel timing the same, and, and again, some people like to use astrology as an excuse, like, for example, I'm always late for everything, and I like to say things like, "Well, I'm an Aries, so I'm always late."
Jacinda was late for the podcast, by the way.
So I just like for me, yeah, like I don't know, I kind of lost my train of thought on that
I
one.
threw you off.
Just making fun
No,
of
you were
myself.
just mentioning that everybody's different.
Yeah,
So in
so we're
terms
all
of
different. So it's hard. Okay, I don't know if you remember, but I said not everybody cries. Not everybody expresses emotion through
sure,
tears.
right,
Okay. So that's one of the misconceptions, and this might explain what you're asking. People think that in order to feel emotional, we need to have tears. And if you're not crying, then you must not have any emotion. And that's not fair because there's only three water signs in the zodiac. There's Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So they're very emotional people. They will experience their emotions through tears. I don't have a water moon. I have an earth moon, and my earth moon does not experience their emotions through tears. I don't cry a lot. I'm not someone that's crying all the time. So to say that, oh well, you're not experiencing emotions because you're not crying, well, that's not
mm,
fair because I'm actually a very emotional person.
that's a good
I'm
point. I'm
very
glad you brought that
sensitive,
up.
and you're probably a lot the
Yep,
same because you have an earth moon, but that doesn't mean that you're not sensitive. It
right,
doesn't mean that you don't feel things. It just means you process your feelings a lot different. So we're all different. Like, for example, I'm a fire sign as a sun sign, and Jim is a fire sign as a sun sign, but it's clearly we're different because I'm over here flailing my arms all over the place and I'm like, "Wah!" And Jim is not. He's very calm and collected. But that's because I have a Sagittarius rising. So when I present into public, this is how I present. I'm a little bit of a freak all over the place, and Jim is not like that. So Jim is calm and he can, people honestly probably take Jim a lot more seriously than they would take me, right? Because I'm just someone that's I like to joke, I like to laugh, and it's not that Jim doesn't like to, he just knows when to he knows how to calculate himself, like so I don't know really how to answer that question because everybody's different. We all experience things differently. And yeah, like even environmental raisings, the way that we were raised, you can find that in your chart, but we're all different.
right,
Everybody experiences things differently. And if we were taught as little people astrology, life would be so much different.
yeah.
Life teaching,
Mm.
teaching little children would be so much different. We wouldn't expect them to just sit in chairs and just sit there and listen. We'd have everybody out doing the things that they need to do for their own life, right? Like teaching everybody one way is
Right.
just that's not cool.
So let's we got a little bit of time here left. If our chart does show a certain tendencies, can we still choose differently? And you probably touched on this actually a couple different times. But to answer it directly.
I mean, how would you even know if you didn't know your chart though, right? So would you even if you didn't know your chart,
Hmm.
how would you know if you were choosing differently? But I mean, if you knew your chart, like a lot of times you're
That's
like,
interesting. I like
well, no, but
it. Right.
seriously though, like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
we
yeah.
don't know, then how would we know, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so yeah, you could choose. You could look at your chart and be like, no, okay, like for example, how much time do we have? I want to run through some of your cool stuff that you have going on here. So Jim has
Let's just
his
move it off the table so
sorry,
we're
yeah,
not
yeah, because
shaking the camera.
I'm a shaky person. So Jim has his moon in the eighth house. So for a lot of people with your moon in the eighth house, like the eighth house is the death house, for example, but it doesn't mean death as like a person dying. It could, but it doesn't usually. It's like uh death and rebirth, transformation, growth, like deep inner thoughts. Like it's about that. It's about inheritances, wills, it's about other people's money. It's also where we can find our psychic gifts. So, Jim, you have your moon in the eighth house.
Mhm.
So, as a child, you probably had imaginary friends. You probably saw stuff. You probably talked to different things. But as a child, you were told that that was just your imagination and just to forget about that. And that wasn't real. That was 100% real. You actually have a gift. And if you allow yourself to tap into that, but here's the interesting thing is that Chiron that we were talking
Mhm.
about earlier,
Yep.
your Chiron sits in that same house right next to your moon. So you probably had um, a lot of people not catering, like they maybe neglected your emotions when you were a child. You probably like weren't really heard that much. You didn't feel worthy enough to share your feelings. Like they weren't like maybe even
Mhm.
loving you enough.
Yeah.
So a lot of that wound around that limiting belief that you don't have that gift that once you heal that gift, that will probably come back for you, right? Like once you heal that limiting belief that you do deserve love. You are
Right.
worthy to have somebody come into your life and to love you. Your needs are worth it. You, Jim, your needs are worth it. And when you allow yourself to understand that you do have worth, you do have you you are allowed to be nurtured. You are allowed to be heard. Like everything that you feel is important. And once you allow that, that transformation will start to happen, and those gifts will start coming back
Right.
for you. And that will tie into your north node, that path that you're here to live, that balance, that peace, that harmony. No more people pleasing. That,
Yep.
and then you have this Pluto here, right beside your north node. Pluto is our planet of a transformation. And when you allow yourself to transform, you're doing it through that peace and harmony. You're not someone that just goes and like you're not just someone that's changing for other people to see you change. You're doing it peacefully for yourself. Um, and it it's actually opposing. So this is like a challenge for you. It's opposing your north node because it wants to be like against that Aries.
Hmm.
And so if you just do it for yourself, don't do it for anybody else. Just what you're doing, do it for you.
Right.
And when you can do that, and just another little quick thing, because I thought this was really neat. So Saturn is our planet of like planet of restriction, planet of willpower, like discipline. So our 12th house, that's like industry, secret sorrows, self undoing, but it also has to do with dreams. I would imagine you probably have some really intense dreams. And if you learn how to focus and discipline yourself, like maybe keep a dream journal and
Hmm.
stuff, that can really work well with your moon to help you start channeling some of that
Right.
stuff more. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I thought it was really cool while I was doing it, and I just wanted to share that with you. We did talk about transits, so for you, this is what the for Jim, the inside circle is Jim's chart, and then the outside circle is today's sky, what it's happening for Jim today in the sky. So that's one of the transits is you can look to see how. So, for example, the sun is conjunct to your Jupiter. So this is a good day where that sun is really shining on that expansion, that feeling that you get, like it's really shining on like that love, that nurturing of growing beyond yourself and learning more about who you are. So it's really
Right.
neat that we chose astrology for this day today in particular.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to a gentleman I listened to, Peter Crone. I'm probably going to butcher the quote, but life can't happen any other way because it happened. So it
Hmm.
kind of goes back to
Hmm.
can you change it? If you knew what it was, would you just try to change it anyways? But you just never know because life
Hmm.
happens the way it happens because it couldn't happen any other way
Hmm.
because it did. So it's just an interesting quote to kind of fit into what we were just talking about there. So we have a few minutes left. So just a couple quick rapid fire questions here on astrology. So what zodiac sign do you feel gets misunderstood the most?
Honestly, I think a lot of them do, but probably Scorpio in a way,
Mhm.
because Scorpio's known as being like this dark sign, but they're actually very intuitive. They're very deep, and they're the phoenix. They're the sign that just can be beaten down to the ground, but will always rise back up. Beaten down to the ground and rise back up,
Okay,
like are the people that are always coming. Don't
interesting.
don't worry about them.
What's what's one astrology myth you'd love to eliminate?
A myth that I would like to change is that, religious people, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, so
Hmm.
please do not take this in any disrespect, because it's just the way that you have learned, and that's how your soul has grown. And I totally understand. I grew up on the outskirts of religion. That's the only reason why I'm going to say this,
Sure.
is that people think that astrology is ungodly and that it's Satanism, and so I believe that our creator created astrology. If God created, or whatever you want to, God, divine, the universe, whatever you believe,
Mhm.
created the universe. So created the stars, created the planets, so therefore created astrology to help us in our journey. So what I would like to squash is that it was created by God. And people be like, oh, well, it's a false idol you're worshiping. But to worship astrology, in my opinion, is just to worship the divine. It has brought me closer to the divine. Like,
Mhm.
I I had a relationship with God, but then I didn't have a relationship with God, with the divine, because then, like, I was like, no, I don't want that anymore. And then I went out on my own self-discovery, and then it just brought me back to the divine. And it brought that relationship stronger, because then I started to understand myself, because I know that I'm connected to the divine through my heart, which, I mean, we could go on a whole thing of chakras and everything else, but like, that's, to me, that is the misconception I would like to just erase, is that it's not evil. It's, how can something so beautiful that makes your heart open and pure to live the life that you came here to live, and that's a relationship that you would have created with the divine, like, the creator wants you to come here to learn, to teach. Like, that's what we're
Mhm.
literally here to do. Like, you're teaching me and I'm teaching you, but we're also both learning, and
Right.
that's a gift. So that's all, to me, is that astrology is just another tool to help us navigate this world that we're here, like, we come here, we forget everything. So it's just a map to help us guide our way through.
Love that. Love that. All right. So if someone listening today wanted to, say, start designing their life, that feels more aligned with who they really are, what's one thing that you would say to encourage them, or that maybe astrology can help with?
I'm going to be completely honest. Astrology isn't necessarily for everybody, but I
Mhm.
truly believe that everything is connected. So if you're into crystals, that's astrology as well. If you're into chakra, astrology. If you're into plants, astrology. Everything can be connected to everything else. Tarot, Reiki, everything is connected. So if you can just find something that you feel connected to, that opens your heart up, because that's what it is. It's that heart chakra, that's that bridge between the lower world, the three chakras down below that connect us to the world, to find those three higher chakras that connect us to the above. If you can find something that can help bridge that gap, whether it's astrology or any of the other things that I mentioned, that's the avenue you need to take, because there are people out there in all of these platforms that can help everybody. And then you just need to find that one thing, like your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, like whatever connects to you, because there's lessons in everything. If you're willing to find the lesson, to hear the lesson, to see the lesson, that's all it's about, is just knowing that there's so much more to us than just what we are in this shell that we walk around.
Yeah, and one thing I love about this conversation is really whether, like you said, whether you believe in astrology or you don't. It's really just about an invitation of, uh, you know, being more curious about yourself and
Hmm.
who we are and your passions and what you love to do. So yeah, I love that. So with that said, I just want to say, Jacinda, it was wonderful having you on the show today. Thank you. I'd love to do another one. Maybe we'll go
Hmm.
totally no script at all and
Oh,
wing the
my
whole
soul.
thing.
Are you ready for
Add all
that?
my soul and journey.
I appreciate this so much. Thank you, Jim. This has been fun.
Wonderful. And for anyone out there that wants to learn a little bit more about astrology, or maybe look into your chart, is birth chart. Is that the right term?
Yeah, so natal chart, birth
Natal
chart.
chart, birth chart.
I don't try to get too caught up in
Awesome.
language, right?
Well, and that's the one thing I will say, because I have been to one of your classes, and I do love that it's an open form. There is
Mhm.
no rigorous structure. It's an open form, and if you're interested in learning more about your birth chart, astrology, it's in the stars, which is Jacinda Marr. Check her out on Facebook. Check out Oh My Soul and Journey. You can find her there as well. And yeah, thanks again for watching. Until next time.
Thank you.